blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly all your life.
Hello. If you're a guitar player who's either just starting out or you're an intermediate player and you're strumming chords for the most part, but you're interested in getting into fingerpicking, or what's been called fingerstyle guitar playing, then Blackbird is a perfect song for you. I'm going to help you learn how to play it. I'm going to help you learn how to play it the right way. So I know there really isn't a right or wrong way to play a song. Everybody's interpretation is personal and different. So there really isn't a wrong way to play Blackbird. Maybe that's not true. The point is, I've seen a lot of really good tutorials on Blackbird. There's a lot of great stuff out there. Most of them, however, don't include what I consider to be the secret ingredient that makes the song really work. And in that way, I mean work for you as the player, but more importantly, work for the people you're playing it for. And so I'm going to show you that secret ingredient. I think it's really important, along with obviously showing you the chords and the finger picking. As a bonus, I'm going to show you the connection between Johann Sebastian Bach, Paul McCartney, and Justin Bieber. Bach, Beatles, Bieber. Wait for it. So before we get started, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate that, and so does Kona. Paul McCartney recorded Blackbird in 1968. It's credited as a Lennon-McCartney song, but for the most part they wrote separately back when they were with the Beatles. McCartney has said that he was inspired by Johann Sebastian Bach's Borean E minor when he wrote Blackbird. It has bits like this in it. He and George Harrison had learned bits of that song when they were younger, in part to impress girls and also impress other guitar players. Because we know as guitar players, we live to impress other guitar players. So Bach's composition is in the key of E minor, obviously Borean E minor. And we all know that E minor is the relative key to G major. So guess what key McCartney wrote Blackbird in? If you said G major, you win a biscuit. Bach's composition and McCartney's Blackbird are based, both of them, on intervals of tenths, and some people call those thirds, but I'm going to refer to them as tenths, 10 degrees apart in the scale of 8 degrees, 10 degrees apart. So it goes beyond the octave. Bach, those are tenths. Again, McCartney's tune and Bach's tune doing the same thing. Fun fact, Justin Bieber's Love Yourself, which is actually written by Ed Sheeran, is also based on the same concept. So there's really nothing new under the sun, right? If you're a right-handed player like I am, you're going to have to work on, if it's new to you, in particular, you're going to have to work on this right-hand picking technique. McCartney's left-handed, but if you're right-handed like me, that means that you're using both of these two fingers, the middle finger and the thumb, to pick out these 10th interval notes. But also, which is trickier, is there's a pedal tone, named after what piano players do a lot, of the open G string with your index finger. It's what gives the song its resonant kind of full quality, is that G note just keeps coming along, droning along, right? It's a pedal tone, it's a constant. We'll get into that in more detail. There are 4 things that I really would like to have you focus on while you're learning this song. First, get to know the chord shapes, the 2-note intervals. Practice the picking technique with your right hand. Be patient, practice in pieces or chunks, and then add the special ingredient I'm going to show you after you learn the chords and the technique. Okay, let's get into the chords of Blackbird. As I mentioned earlier, it's in the key of G major. So these intervals that really represent chords, just 2-note chords, these are really chords in the key of G major. They're just abbreviated versions of this. So again, this is not stuff you need to know, but it's always good to understand how things are constructed. What McCartney does that makes this even more interesting than just sticking within the key is he does do some chromatic movements. That. So you can hear where it kind of returns to the key, and that's the fifth of G major. It provides the tension, returning back to. So I'm hitting the E string, this E string with my thumb, and then the B string with my middle finger. So thumb, middle finger, that's all this stuff is. So here it's the open B string and the G note, the third fret of the E string, open A, and then the C note, which is the first fret of the B string. This is, again, staying with the A string and the B strings, these two strings here on my right hand, second fret and third fret. Now I'm using my pinky. If that's not something that's comfortable for you, you can use other fingers, but when you get to this, it's a little bit more of a workout to have to do that and not use your pinky. So if you've avoided using your pinky before, this is a good time to get into it. You're kind of going to need that pinky to make these 2 fret stretches. So we are here, still staying with these 2 strings, Now 3rd fret of the A string, 5th fret of the B string. Now when we're going down, this is where it gets a little more interesting. So we have open A string, B string, 2nd fret. Now we're moving to the D string on the next one, open D string, and the C note on the B string. So we've stayed pretty much on this B string here with my middle finger, but I have moved from hitting the top E string, the bottom, to moving to the A string, still on the A string. Now I'm moving all the way to the D string here. Now, you can just play it like this, but you can also hit this extra G note, which is on the E string, 3rd fret. And these 3 notes, I think, make it a little more interesting. But that's up to you. And you take these in chunks. Just this part returns quite a bit throughout the song. And then when it goes down, I'm not going to talk about these sections in too much detail in terms of form. If you're playing Blackbird, you've listened to it. If you want to learn Blackbird, you've listened to it enough times, you understand the form of the song. But you're going to want to grab this. You're going to want to get up here because this is like the hero spot of the song. Right? If you haven't spent a lot of time up here in your guitar playing, it's a good time to get into that as well. Now this is the same form as down here, it's just this 2 fret stretch. And this is 10th fret, 12th fret, 10th fret, 12th fret, these 2 strings. And you just slide, that's all. I'm holding this form. Here comes the trickiest part for a lot of players when they first get into this song. During the verse, McCartney is holding these forms, which you've already sort of seen. So if you just take this form that we learned and you move it up 2 frets, you're good to go, right, for that chord. But what he does is he does a little bit of gymnastics by going back and forth between these chord shapes, which is, you're doing this and you're all good because this is kind of like this down here, but then now you got to do that. So this is, again, you're switching both fingers to now using your middle finger on the A string, 4th fret, and now you're on the high E string, G note, which is the 3rd fret, using your first finger. So your first finger just went like that, right? And now you're also using this. So that's something to take as a chunk and just work on that for a while because it's going to happen twice. Again, 2 frets up. Okay, there's the gymnastics. this is, again, this is not the 2 fret stretch. This is just a 1 fret stretch. You can see in the diagram there. And you're just moving this finger down 1, holding this. So there's chromatic movement again. Then you're back to this. And then now the slide's happening with the pinky. You're holding the A string note, but now you're the B string note, you're moving this down 1. Okay, so that whole thing goes like this. Slide. Now you're down into what we had talked about earlier, that chromatic movement down. And for the chorus, a lot of the similar shapes, but they're just in different places. So here they are, you can see on the diagram, and the number where the frets are. All familiar shapes. You're holding shapes that are either 1 fret apart or 2 frets apart. That's the challenge right there.
Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of the dark black night.
All right, so there's 2 other elements. One is the drone I mentioned earlier, or the pedal tone of using your index finger to hit that open G string. And it's a pedal tone, it's consistent, and again establishes not only the key center, but just keeps a consistent tone going throughout the song, which really fills it in. So as you learn these, and once you've got them down, try adding this into the mix, which is to add in this little index finger on the G string. So it would sound like this. Okay? If you practice it really slowly, you'll feel your way into where to emphasize it, where to include it, and maybe where to back off a little bit. But it works throughout, even the chromatic stuff. Okay, so the secret ingredient that I mentioned earlier, it's not that complicated. It's really all about groove and rhythm, like most things are, right? So it's not wrong, and I've seen it taught this way and played this way many times, to play it like this. Right? All your life. That's all good. I think it's better, and this is what McCartney does if you really listen to the way he plays it, to do 2 things extra. One is as you're doing this, and he does this, by the way, on several acoustic songs like Yesterday, right, or Rocky Raccoon. Like, it's this downward thing. Now this may take a while if you haven't done it before, with the nail kind of right on your index finger, or sort of these 2 fingers here. It's just it kind of is the punch part. It's part of what makes an acoustic guitar a percussive instrument. So you heard the earlier version. So here's the version I think that McCartney emphasizes when he plays. So when you play it like that, a lot of times I'm not even conscious of it, but I'm substituting, instead of just doing the drone with my index finger, I'm substituting a bit of this, which actually includes the G string or focuses on the G string, as opposed to. The second part of this is tap your foot, and actually, more importantly, I think, get do something where you can actually hear it, where your audience can hear it. So it's important to have the foot tap or the foot clunk or whatever you want to call it. It's gotta sound out. So that makes all the difference in my mind. That versus again, there's nothing wrong with that, but again, the acoustic guitar was meant to be a percussive instrument.
Blackbird singing.
All right, I hope that's helpful. Remember to be patient when you're learning anything new, particularly with a piece of music, and learn it in chunks if that's helpful. Don't forget about the rhythm. Everything in life is about rhythm, so just focus on the groove once you get all the notes and the technical stuff down. Make it your own, and as always, just have fun. Thanks.